Imagine you've been involved in the largest civil rights movement in human history, the fight to extend legal and constitutional protections for preborn babies. For decades, opponents on the other side have argued that pro-life advocates do little to help pregnant women. The truth and reality is far different. Pregnancy care centers in communities across Pennsylvania and the United States have become havens of hope for women facing an unplanned or crisis pregnancy. Tonight on State of Independence, I'll take you to a community where the need is perhaps the greatest. A city block in Pennsylvania with a notorious and gruesome history that's now being transformed into a beacon of hope. This is an important conversation you do not want to miss. Stay with us. "3801 Lancaster Avenue is an address associated with one of the darkest chapters in medical history. Dr. Kermit Gosnell and his staff were committing illegal, unregulated abortions in conditions reminiscent of medical facilities in the developing world. When investigators finally cracked down on the doctor and his practice, the world noticed. Consciences have been awakened, and for a rising generation of pro-life activists, the mission to protect women and their children was clarified. Today, the clinic is closed, and next door, a pregnancy care center, Alpha Care, is serving the needs of women and their babies in life-giving, transformative ways. The leader of the center is here today, Brooke Nearman. But before we hear from her, I want you to watch this.
The way I found Alpha Care, I was 2 months pregnant, and I was just asking God for wisdom because I was just so lost in that place. All of a sudden, I felt in my heart, just saying like the book of James, the one verse that really stood out is James 1:5. If you ask God for wisdom, he'll give it to you generously, but all you have to do is believe. And I was like, Lord, I need your wisdom. Like, I need help at this situation. That's when he gave me the wisdom, and all I remember was Alpha Care.
Alpha Care is a nonprofit that works with pregnant women and new mothers. First, helping women identify their pregnancies with pregnancy tests and ultrasounds, helping them get plugged into prenatal care. From the beginning, Alpha Care understood that they were not interested in just a moment decision of saving the baby, but that if a woman made the decision for life, she was going to be in need of additional resources as well as emotional and relational support. And so having the social workers and the ability to continue on in a program for support makes a huge, huge difference.
Each woman that comes to us is precious. We have to treat her really well. She is extremely vulnerable, and it's so important for us in terms of how we ask questions, how we answer questions, because that can make the difference between a woman moving forward or a woman being further traumatized. As soon as the woman walks inside and we shut that door, we're trying to create a safe space for her. And we want to help her move past those past difficulties that she's experienced.
My name is Kiara Jones, and I'm from West Philadelphia, and I have a 1-year-old daughter. The interaction with everybody in Alpha Care is different from any other atmosphere I've been in. Everybody is very nice. They welcome in. It feels like actually home. When I come here.
The big piece of my job is really listening. Sometimes they're looking for an answer, and sometimes they're just looking to be heard.
Our staff at Alpha Care are professional, certified in both mental health first aid and trauma-informed care. Philadelphia is a city that has a lot of poverty, and poverty presents challenges like being able to get from one part of the city to another. So the mobile unit offers us the opportunity to go where women are.
When I was introduced to Alpha Care, I was very happy because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't have no family. I didn't have much friends around me. I was actually living in a shelter at that time when I was introduced to Alpha Care.
Poverty itself is a huge trauma. And through the years, Alpha Care has sought different ways to help women through these traumas. We have been able to see concrete changes in women, and women have been able to begin to move forward.
They have so much passion, real passion for what they do, and you can tell how compassionate they are with the women that they help.
It just let me see really like the hand of God in that place, how he just, makes changes in the people's lives.
I do thank God I came across Alpha Care and the people I met there because they supported me in a time where I needed it the most.
Finding a place like Alpha Care means a lot. It means a lot to someone like me that doesn't have that love and support. And I keep going back to family because I don't have that, and I know I'm not by myself. There's plenty of people out here that don't have that support.
Every woman brings her own story. Whatever that situation is, we have to be ready to listen and to respond in a way that's loving and in a way that empowers her.
There's a lot of brokenness. And when you can fill that need through Jesus and through tangible things, you can get to the core of what it is to help fill in that brokenness.
If a friend is pregnant or somebody I know is pregnant, I always recommend Alpha Care to them because I know how much Alpha Care changed my life. I definitely want to spread the message of Alpha Care, so I'm so grateful.
Wow. Wow, it's amazing. We talk so much about God's word and what it means to be a Christian person. And at the end of every show, I say that, among other things, this show is about helping you to learn to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul and strength, and to love your neighbor like you love yourself. And Alpha Care, from the testimony of people who have been the recipients of your kindness, sounds like you care about people like you care about yourself. When women come there in various forms of distress, they find a warm, caring environment, people who love them like they love themselves, who treat them like they would want to be treated if it was them coming through the door. That's very special, Brooke. I don't know how you achieve that. Is there some story that you have that led you to be involved in this ministry, to lead this kind of wonderful work?
Well, it really was a passion for caring for the women and children in Philadelphia. I grew up in Philly. And
where in Philly did you grow up?
I grew up in 18th and Pemberton, actually, although I went to elementary school in West Philly, so always had a foot there, and then I've lived in West Philly most of my adult life. And I had a job out in the suburbs for a season, and just my heartstrings were really being pulled back to the city and to be working in the community where I live and doing something that I knew really had an impact. Working before in a previous larger organization kind of felt like, you're a cog in a larger machine, and if you're, gone, it doesn't make a big impact. And in some ways, when I first came to Alpha Care as director of advancement, it was a little bit of a step back in my career, but I knew that I was going to a place that really, where I could make an incredible difference. And it was a really exciting time in the organization's history. They made the strategic move to, and were able to get the property next door to Gosnell.
Yeah, right next to that place.
Yeah. So I was serving as a volunteer and on a group that was trying to see about acquiring the building. That hasn't happened. It's still kind of locked up in complicated things to these days and uninhabited. And we'll see what God has for us. But we know the redemption work has begun, and we are there serving that community. And basically in Center City, a lot of things had changed in terms of how people reach out to an organization.
Yeah, how do they find you? I mean, how does somebody know besides word of mouth? Like, the young woman in the video said, "I tell everybody I know that's pregnant that they should go to Alpha Care."
Well, one of the big things that changed, I mean, it is word of mouth. So our community relationships are really important, and just having community members who will tell a friend or other organizations. But number one is Google. So actually we have a lot of external support that goes into Google advertising. So when people are first searching their phones of how do I know I'm really pregnant, what are signs of early pregnancy, things like that, that they'll find Alpha Care. Or even if they're searching for an abortion, that Alpha Care will come up, and we love to be a part of that very first conversation of, I've had a pregnancy test and it's positive at home, but I don't know if this is real, or I'm feeling changes in my body. I don't know if this is real. And we say, you're able to come to Alpha Care, confirm with a pregnancy test, and then have an ultrasound and actually have your pregnancy confirmed. Where we
what are the range of situations that people come to you with? I mean, some people are married, some people are not. Some people may not know who the father is, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You've got a whole, and some may not have parental support. Some may be afraid to tell parents or a loved one or a boyfriend.
Exactly. So it's a gamut in terms of age-wise, but many of them do not have a support person in their life, and do not have necessarily or know what the response to the father of the baby is going to be, especially because the status of that relationship might not really be a relationship or might be very tenuous. And so the great thing about Alpha Care is from the beginning, we've not just been there for that moment of decision for the baby that's in their womb, but really to say we can be with you through pregnancy and into early motherhood. As long as you want our support, we're here with our social workers and ongoing services to walk beside you and connect you to the resources that exist in the city, but also to community, and a community of other mothers and a community of care, and sometimes a church community. It really
is the church community supportive, or are they more prone to be judgmental? I mean, is there a reason why a young person would come to Alpha Care and not go to their pastor?
Certainly. It's a hard history, I think, of context of just, I'll say, things like this in the church and the judgment that people see there. Everything is free and confidential. Although, especially for young women who say living at home or with people, we talk to them about how to then bring their loved ones, if there are loved ones in the picture, into the conversation and kind of help prepare them for that. A lot of the early conversation in that first appointment is, do you have a safe living environment? If not, let's talk about what needs to happen then. If you were to have a baby, would that change your, what's happening, say, with your education or your job or your home? And for a lot of people, there's disruption there. The neat thing too is for some women, this becomes a real situation of change, and say they're in an abusive situation or they're not treating their body well.
Abuse
by using
runs the gamut. It could be like a boyfriend or a partner who's physically abusive. It could be somebody who's maybe mentally abusive. It could be a situation where there's a parent or an uncle or an aunt.
Yes, and so often there's people like that in the scene, and that's where the ongoing social work and the trauma healing program that we use can be helpful in identifying that and helping them move away from it and find healing and really live a safe, healthy life.
How do you get people to be honest about it? I mean, like if there's an incest situation, like somebody was preyed upon by somebody who they previously trusted, who was a family member, and now they're pregnant. They come to you, they find they're pregnant.
It's building a trusting relationship and creating space for someone to talk and process themselves. And so sometimes those things come out in that early appointment as we kind of are asking about their situation, but sometimes that comes out much later within the relationship that's built over, at times, years walking beside pregnant women, and especially and the women and their families, especially those who don't have that support system. We really step in and are there for them in that way and are able to kind of learn and support them through that.
Right. So you get to meet the family members oftentimes, or at least you get to understand what the situation is. Somebody comes to you, they tell you, I'm in this situation. This is my environment. This is what's happening with me.
And the situations are so complex. We really have professionally trained staff with social work degrees, nursing degrees, who have done mental health first aid training, trauma-informed perspective workplace and environment, and a lot of other things to understand how to really engage with someone and care for them well in that situation, not causing more harm, but instead helping them away from harmful situations.
Right. Your relationship with the people you serve, I'm guessing lasts longer than the 9 months or whatever the period of the pregnancy is that you've gotten to know them.
It really is up to the woman in terms of how long they want to continue services. Our social workers help them set their own personal goals and help them meet those goals in terms of what they need, one, before the baby comes, and then as a new mother. It's interesting, you know, some women do love to come back and want to give back in some ways, kind of bringing back their baby clothes after they're done with them and say, I want another mother to be able to use them. But for a lot of women, this is one of the darkest chapters of their life. And while they are really grateful for what Alpha Care has done and their services, it's also intertwined with the memories of a really hard period that they've been able to exit. Yeah. And so it's interesting that you know, women will say, hey, it took me 10 years to come back here and say thank you because I just view that as a hard season of what was going on, and Alpha Care was the one that helped me away from that and was really the match to what, you know, was the wonderful new start of my life. But it's, you know, there's painful memories intertwined with what was going on when I first stepped foot in coming to you.
I wonder if they can be helpful at all to people who are, like, let's say somebody gets through their pregnancy, they have their baby, they've been helped by Alpha Care. It was a difficult and dark period in their life, and now they're headed in a better direction. You know, I wonder if they would be able to help somebody who was going through it, who was where they were a year or two before. And even though they may not want to revisit that dark place where they were, being able to at least tell somebody what to expect, or, you know, here's what happened to me. I was where you were a year ago or 2 years ago, and I had my baby, and this is where I am now, and this is how Alpha Care helped me. And so there's an example for your life as to what life can look like when you get past this.
Yeah, you know, there's two things. One, we have a mothers group. So that's an active program where mothers are able to kind of share together, and those who are further in the journey can talk with those who are getting close to giving birth, and they'll exchange cell phone numbers and really serve as an encouragement and just a place and space to kind of talk about what their experience is. Long term, we're actually in the next few years looking to launch a mentorship program. And the goal of that is, you know, the social worker, the bounds of what their relationship looks like is professional, and it has certain boundaries for both the mental health long-term and stability of the social workers, but also it's a professional relationship. But that's where we're looking for the mentor to come in as a different type of relationship. And it can be that church woman who has the heart and is not judgmental and is really prepared to do that. Or a former client who is prepared and ready to kind of step in that way, who can be the one that say, yeah, let me drive you over to TJ Maxx to get a suit for that job interview and be praying for you while you're there. And I'm going to take you out to dinner to celebrate when this milestone happens in your life. And so while the social worker is praying for them and maybe helping line those things up, they're not the one that's kind of, you know, hop in my car or come over to my family's house for dinner because of the professional boundaries of that relationship. So I think the mentorship element will really be a blessing to the wider community who wants to be involved in our work, as well as a blessing to our clients in a deep, meaningful way. Hopefully long-term relationships that form out of that.
Yeah. I have so many other questions I want to ask you. I'm curious to know, among other things, if you could talk to somebody who was watching tonight who doesn't want to end up as one of your patients. You know, what advice would you give them so that they don't end up in this situation? We're gonna give you a chance to catch your breath here. When we return, I want to ask Brooke how you and I, people who care about our friends and neighbors, feel trapped and alone. How can we help them decide for life? And how can we help them after a baby is born? We'll be right back after a few seconds.
You're watching Joe Watkins' State of Independence on Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Share your comments about today's program in the comment box at joewatkins.org.
Well, today we're turning our conversation to a special organization in the heart of the city of Philadelphia, in beautiful West Philadelphia actually, that's bringing light and hope to a community hard hit by despair. Brooke, if someone watching is in a conversation with someone considering an abortion, where do you begin to try to help?
I'd say the starting place is encouraging them to process and think through. Most women have not had their feeling fearful, and it seems like a quick answer and relief to have an abortion out of their concerns. And what they really need is space and time to process what are the pros and cons of each decision between abortion, life, parenting, and adoption. And many women, given the space and time to really unpack their feelings on both sides of those things, end up realizing that they would make a different choice other than abortion.
Yeah.
And so being a listening ear and helping them think through that, and even starting with, what are the positives of abortion?
Yeah, right.
And what are the negatives of parenting? And
Right.
then going through, well, what are the positives of parenting and what would come out of that? And what are the negatives of abortion? And helping them think through themselves. Really, we're not in the business of convincing people not to have abortions. We're there to support and love women with the love of Christ and giving them that space and giving them information about what exists that is really the game changer and helps so many women decide to choose life.
Yeah, it's wonderful that you take time with people and that you talk to them and that you walk them through the process so that they can hopefully choose life. That's a wonderful thing. This is a little bit different. I mean, the abortion issue is so messy, not just in Philly or Pennsylvania, but around the country. It ends up being such a wedge issue, where people are you see folks demonstrating and coming to blows sometimes over the issue of life. And it seems, at least to me, why would anybody want to rob somebody of the chance to live? Why would anybody want to take somebody's life, especially a baby before it's born? Why would you want to do that? And I know the circumstances are difficult sometimes, but what God is able to do with people is just amazing. And you can't write anybody off, and everybody deserves the chance to live. I mean, if my mother had decided to abort me, I would be robbed of all the sweetness that my life has had over these number of decades. I wouldn't, a wife, children, grandchildren, friends, family, career, chance to uplift and hopefully encourage other people. All that wouldn't exist if I hadn't had a chance to be born and to make some mistakes myself, but to come to Christ and to be able to share that love with other people. What you're doing is a wonderful work and a good work. And do you get people show up at your doorstep that are angry, that are saying, especially given your location, you're right next to the abortion clinic.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the political nature, because as executive director and really trying to understand where's Alpha Care's space in what is such a raucous, really fight going on, is that we really have to step away from the political. Yeah. And we really need allies in the neighborhood who are pro-choice, who also believe in what we're doing and are willing to refer people to us and can trust in what we're doing because of our integrity. Right. And so I was saying, I've told a few people, it was really interesting during the election with Hillary and Trump, all sorts of people in the neighborhood said, you've got to be voting for, so excited about Hillary because you care for the poor. And if you care for the poor, you must be a Democrat. And I had all sorts of other people saying, you guys, care about life. And so you must be so excited about the idea of Trump becoming president because you're pro-life. And I actually think being in Philadelphia, which is such a liberal city, being in that space where we are allies to everybody because of what we do is really where we need to be to serve women. There have been times where there's pro-life groups that we've had to ask, hey, we need you to not affiliate yourselves with us publicly because we don't want counter protesters or things out here.
Stopping them from coming in.
Yeah. The neat thing is when there have been neighbors that have had kind of negative feelings about what we've done, we've been able to say, why don't you come in? Come see what we do, come talk to us, and really been able to have them leave saying, I'm so excited that you're here in the neighborhood because I can get behind how you're treating women and what's happening. I mean, there's really nothing that we have to hide even from approach, if you believe in choice, then you should believe in what Alpha Care is doing, because women truly are able to come in and hear truth and being given facts about their health situation. And then they are given, ultimately the freedom that exists right now in the state to make the choice for themselves. And most women do choose life after coming through and having that experience and that space to process and seeing the baby on the ultrasound machine. But if they don't, we say that you are welcome back here if you find that you need a space to process later with some of the emotions and feelings you're having, or if you find yourself pregnant again. And the fact that women who sometimes leave after that first appointment and have an abortion come back a second time makes us know that we're doing things right in terms of not causing more harm in that moment out of sort of desperation. But we have to trust the Lord that ultimately His Spirit is this. And that's what allows us in a way to sleep at night, because these situations are really hard, and especially knowing that a life is there in the balance, but knowing that it's not up to us, it's in God's hands, is the way we're able to do this work. It's trusting in His sovereignty. Yeah, you're God's people right there in West Philadelphia on Lancaster Avenue. And when people come in the door, they don't have R or D plastered on their forehead. It doesn't say whether they're liberal or conservative or moderate. They come in there, they're looking for help, and you have a chance to encourage them to choose life, which is a blessing. And we have to build that trust that you were talking about to be able to have those conversations and for them to let us in. And the way to do that is to show respect to that person, regardless of where they're coming from. Yeah, well, that's if people wanted to support you, somebody watching says, I really love the work that Brooke and her team do in West Philadelphia. How would they do that? So our website, we have two. Friends of Alpha Care Philly is really designed for donors and volunteers and community members, and there's an opportunity to give there and to sign up if you're interested in volunteering and helping with our work. But we do this because of the really cloud of witnesses that surround us with the church and those who really believe in this work throughout the greater Philadelphia community. Alpha Care has been around for over 40 years, and that's not by my hand or one individual. It's because of the Lord and Him moving in people's hearts to support what we do. Amen, amen. Friends, the organization is Alpha Care, and their website's on the screen. I know they're in need of your prayers, financial support, and volunteerism, so please check them out. And with that, I'd invite you to write me and let me know how this conversation was helpful to you today. Send me a note if you have a minute. You can find the comment box at joewatkins.org. I'll read and respond to every one of them as I'm able. And so from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, America's first capital, I'm Joe Watkins. Thanks so much for watching. God willing, I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Brooke. This is such an important conversation to have. Yeah. And helping people to choose life. Life is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's just great that God is using you there in West Philadelphia. I know exactly where you are because I'm just right down the street.
Joe Watkins' State of Independence is a production of Lighthouse TV, positively different. Made possible in part because of the support of viewers like you.